we are stepping up the level of our services. Our goal is to treat your loved ones with the respect they deserve. We are taking our services to new heights. We are stepping in a new direction. Step into the new millennium with Golden Gate Funeral, where service begins and never ends.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Undertaker, an open, honest look at the funeral service brought to you by Golden Gate Funeral Home and Crematory, with facilities in Fort Worth, Texas, Dallas, Texas, and Tallulah, Louisiana. I'm your host, John Beckwith Jr., and I'm joined today by the King of Pre-Need, Brother Eddie Pace.
Hello there.
We have the Queen of Pre-Need, Sister Deborah Abrams.
Hello, everybody.
We have our sister and Chief Financial Officer, Miss Carolyn Haynes.
Hello, everyone.
We have the pastor, M.T. Body, of the St. John Baptist Church of Hillsboro, Texas.
Praise the Lord, everyone.
And we have the pastor, A. Lewis Eaton, of the Church of Living God, Temple 280.
Blessings on you.
All right, today we come from the 100th number of Psalms and the 4th verse. Pastor Eaton, will you read that for us?
The word of God says, enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him and bless his name.
All right, today we're going to talk about types of celebrations. And Carolyn, you agree that we should celebrate when someone passes away?
Yes, John, we shouldn't just have a service and be done with it, move on with their life. We should celebrate the fact that our loved one has gone on to glory.
So there's many different things that happen at a funeral ceremony, and celebration should be one of them.
One of them, most definitely.
Pastor Body, what do you think is another thing we should do at a funeral ceremony?
Well, we should be respectful
Okay.
of the deceased and acknowledge the fact that the kind of life they live.
Regardless what religion I may be, regardless what I believe in,
Right.
respect should always be in place.
That's always in order.
Can you think of anything else, Queen?
I think that we should remember the life of the person that's gone on.
So we shouldn't just go to a funeral and talk about us.
That's
We
right.
shouldn't talk about everybody else or make the funeral about us. It should be about the
Deceased.
remember the.
Deceased.
Now, these are
Yes,
pretty
sir.
simple things. If
Yeah.
I'm going to go to a funeral, it needs to be respectful. We need to celebrate the
Celebrate it.
person's life, and we need to be remembering.
Them.
Can you
Their
think of
lives.
anything else, King?
Their beliefs, we should respect their beliefs.
Whatever their beliefs
Their
is.
beliefs are.
So if you come to my funeral, you need to understand you coming into my world.
That's right.
So maybe you shouldn't show up if you don't believe in
What I believe
what I
in.
believe in. I don't think you have a right to criticize that, do you, Carol?
No, you do not. That is their service. And like you said, if you don't believe it and that family is celebrating their beliefs, then yes, you should leave.
What's another? What's many different customs at funerals? I mean, we know there's a belief. Anything else for its customs?
Well, sometimes it's our order of service in which we want to use as one of our customs. Sometimes we have a different way that we want to present our service.
So I need to respect whatever way you choose to present
the service.
your service.
Right.
So if my order service may last for 2 days, would that be?
My love.
You have to respect that,
I
right?
gotta respect it.
Because, Carol, there's many different cultures.
Yes.
There's many different ways to do things. So if I'm going to come to your service, I need to.
You need to respect it. And you need to understand this is the way that my life is going to be celebrated at my service. And again, if they know you, then they're going to respect you.
So let's talk about the different types. We have the traditional funeral service. Kind of walk me through that a little bit, Queen.
Well, the traditional, Mr. Beckwith, is where you actually have a visitation or viewing or
And that's traditional.
and a wake the
Normally,
night before the service.
You come to a funeral, you want to see the deceased person.
That's right.
Or if I come to the wake or visitation the night before, I expect to see. That's tradition. Anything else, Pastor, you think is traditional?
There's an order of service.
Okay. Meaning I don't get to get up and wildcat. I have to actually follow something.
I have to follow protocol.
Okay.
According to what's on the printed program. You know, as you just said, we can't get up there wildcat and just jump up and do what you want to do, how you want to, when you want to, and say what you want to, because there's an order of service and it must be followed to the T.
So traditionally, there's some type of viewing, and you're saying there's also some type of order of service. Anything else at a traditional funeral, what we normally see?
A burial.
There's normally after
It's
the funeral
normally
we
a
go
burial.
to a
the
burial.
cemetery,
And
yes.
Carol, that has changed a lot now.
It has.
Now
there are the ways for a disposition.
Okay. Yes.
But traditionally, it is a burial.
In the past, it's pretty much been a burial. Now we
burial.
see a little more cremation. We're having more services and then
Cremations.
But traditionally,
afterwards.
we just went to a burial.
Yes, we did.
Now you know what we love to do after the burial, don't you?
Yes.
What's that?
We like to have the repast.
The repast.
Go back to the church, eat that fried chicken, those green beans and potato, and a piece of cake,
And that's
take it
traditional.
home.
That's normally what we see at a
That's what we
funeral.
do.
And Carolyn, we see that about 90% of the services
We do.
handle.
We do. A lot of people ask, even if they don't have it at a church, their service at a church, they will find a place where they will have the repast so the family can come together. And that's usually when you take those good old memories that you couldn't say at church and you remember your loved
That's
one.
when you get the real remarks.
Okay.
Well, Pastor, there's something new going on now, isn't it?
Yes, sir. There really is.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, Brother John, the new thing about the service now is the celebration of the life.
Okay, so that's a little different from that traditional service
Yes,
that
sir.
we've been seeing.
It's a major
Tell me a
difference.
little bit, what type of celebrations they have now?
Well, there's different types of celebration, but the one that I'm fond of is the kind that you have where it tells the story of the person.
So it's kind of customized to that person.
To that deceased
it's
person.
personal.
Yes, sir.
And it's interesting, Carol, because now even casket companies and other companies have gotten with us on that.
Yes.
And now they're making more personalization type of services.
So that it will reflect your life. You're exactly right. It's not that old wooden casket and then you have just that white or cream color lining. So yes, they are making it more custom for the individual.
I gotta tell you, I was at a manufacturer not long ago in Indiana, and they can make any color interior. I mean, your college. One of them very popular thing, Queen, is now panels that goes in the back of the casket where it custom. I mean, family photos and person favorite saying, maybe even their favorite scripture, Pastor.
Right, right. And that's good because you want it to be about the loved one. It's not your hour, it's their hour. It's their finest hour where their light should shine on them. And oftentimes we come to funeral service, everybody wanted to make it about themselves instead of the person who's been passed on. And that's what makes the customized service, the new celebration of life, such a grand occasion because it basically focuses directly on that individual.
And just because it's new, King, and it's not traditional, it doesn't make it disrespectful, does it?
No, it don't. And you know, another thing, some families like an uplifting service where it's not a lot of sad songs. They want it to be uplifting.
Now, there's a new reality show called Best Funerals Ever, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
It's all about that celebration of
It
services.
lets families know that you can step outside the box.
Okay.
You don't have to just be at the church, at the cemetery, the chapel. You can step outside the box and do what that person loves to do. And when you honor that, that makes that family feel a lot better. And I'm happy that at Golden Gate, we honor that.
We honor that because we are the best funeral ever, right,
That we
Carol?
are. And we allow that experience to come out too. And we
Okay.
talked about that before, because there may be some of my friends or some of my family members or even my grandchildren and great-grandchildren that didn't get to see a part of my life. But in that celebration, they can see, oh, I would never believe that Granny or great-granny would ever do anything like that.
Right.
But it gives them the sense of who I am and who I was.
So we have 90% of people that's going to do a traditional service.
Right.
And we respect that.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
But now, Pastor, you said there's a new something going on.
Yes, sir.
And that's more customization type thing.
Yes.
Right.
That goes a long ways, y'all. Now, let's kind of help with some of the type of services, Carolyn, because a lot of people just don't know. Memorial service. When you think of memorial service, what comes to mind, King of Preneat?
Where it's no viewing and the loved one's not there, and we actually have a picture, or you can have many pictures of your loved one there.
So when they hear the word memorial service, we just want to kind of help the public with
Yes,
this.
no viewing with a memorial service.
There is no deceased person there.
Yes.
Right.
So when you say the word memorial service, no deceased person.
Right.
And a lot of people had no idea, Queen, that was the case, did they?
They didn't, Mr. Beckwith, but I think, like you said, it's a new trend now. And you can actually have a memorial service at someone's workplace. You can have it at a different facility. And actually, you can have it in addition to the funeral. And even many months or years after the service has actually taken place.
So you
still
can have a
memorial service.
traditional funeral and a memorial service. That's what we're trying to help the public with. Because we did that at Golden Gate. We had a memorial service for Michael Jackson.
Right, we did.
Over 1,000 people showed up and celebrated his life. Michael Jackson wasn't there, but there was a memorial service in his honor.
Right, and it was, as Deborah just stated, it was after his service was completed. But it still gave the people a chance to come. We had a lot of people that came, a lot of people that imitated him. They had a real good time and were able to do remarks. This is their favorite singer. And they were able to do that, and we offer that, and it is, you know, that memory service that you have, memorial service, people love it.
Because those 1,000 people couldn't go to California.
Right.
They wasn't invited to the actual
Funeral.
service. And that brings us to another type of service, Pastor, a private service.
Yes, sir.
There are some private service. What do we mean when we say this is a private service?
It's closed to the public. It's
Okay.
just for the family and friends
Okay.
who were invited and who was informed of the location and what time the service was going to be.
So family and friends can come, but they must be
Invited.
So, Pastor, I can have a private funeral and not invite some family.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because it's called a
Private funeral.
private funeral.
And you know, so I said, they tell invitations only.
Okay,
You know, if you're not been invited, you just can't show up.
and that's a type of service.
That's the
That
type of
is an
service that-
option I have.
That's right.
Now, Carol, there's another service out there called a internet funeral. So it's just the opposite of private.
Exactly.
Help us a little bit with that.
Everybody in the world could then see your actual funeral service. But it's good, John, in that there are some people that cannot attend
Right.
the actual funeral service. So that streaming live and allowing them to be there still, it really gives them a sense, too, of the celebration, and they're able to grieve properly as well.
So, Queen, if I have a loved one that's maybe serving in our armed forces, they can still be a part of the service because it's live on the internet.
Absolutely. Even if they're out of town, Mr. Beckwith, they
And
could
this
be
is something new.
in a nursing home. They
Okay.
could be bedridden and sick and not able to attend the services. It allows them to actually see the full service.
And, King, that doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it different.
That's right.
It just makes it new.
Yeah, because, you know, a lot of times people just cannot get out to go to a funeral. So this way, everybody's involved.
And the good thing about it with technology, they can actually watch it on the computer, their iPad, the smartphone. I mean,
So I
you're
could
not
be
limited.
at work and watch the
Yes.
funeral. I could
Right.
be traveling. I could be maybe even on a plane with Wi-Fi.
And then, John, that really helps you, too, with that grieving process because you may have really wanted to be there, but you really could not attend. And that may delay your grieving process. If I could have just seen them one last time, if I could have actually seen the celebration service, it will help me through the grieving process.
Different type of
Service.
There's another type of service, Pastor. Let's talk a little bit about green funerals.
Okay.
Help us a little bit about what is a green funeral?
Well, a green funeral is a eco-friendly funeral.
Okay, when we say eco-friendly, we're saying people that really has a lot of respect for the environment.
Yes, sir.
And what
Yes, sir.
we put in the ground can affect our environment.
Yes, it will.
And a lot
Yes,
of
it will.
people are concerned about that, and we need to respect their beliefs.
Yes, sir. And that's why we are grateful that they're able to do those green funerals now. Because you have a lot of people that stand up for the environment. They want the clean air. They want the ozone layer to stay
I want
pure.
it too.
You know.
So I think that's definitely
Exactly.
an option we need to respect.
Yes, we need to respect them and let their life be represented for what they believed in.
Exactly. And Carl, there's nothing wrong with the green funeral.
Not at
It's
all.
a choice.
It is. And then, you know, with that, they will list the thing. Everything has to be biodegradable.
Okay.
So that it can go back to Earth.
So it can be naturally go back.
Yes.
So we don't want to put plastic in the ground.
Concrete.
What's another thing we need to be concerned about?
The embalming, you don't have to embalm them.
So you shouldn't be, okay, why not embalming with a green funeral?
Well, they want everything to go back naturally.
So the
It's
chemicals that we use in
to
embalming is
embalm.
not natural?
It's not won't help the ozone layer and all that stuff.
So we dealing with the environment, Carl, we got to be careful about the chemicals we put back in the ground.
Exactly.
ground.
It goes into the ground as well as some of our water sources as well.
So
And
we
that's
have
what
to
these
be,
people are
and
looking
I
out
think
for.
I heard you say something about concrete boxes. 90% of the cemeteries in Dallas-Fort Worth area require that we have a concrete box. 90%.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not eco-friendly.
No, it is not, because that concrete is not going anywhere.
Okay.
It will be there. It's porous. It takes a long time even for if it breaks up. So that's not environmental friendly.
So we need to find a eco-friendly cemetery if we choose a green burial.
Yes, sir.
And there won't be a concrete box. There
Right.
won't be embalming. Even the clothing, Pastor. will be biodegradable.
Has to be biodegradable, so it can just go back to the natural form of the earth, and it won't harm our environment. It won't harm the grounds that we walk up on, that we have our picnics on. We won't have to have any
and we can respect
problems.
that.
And we got to respect
if
it.
that's my choice of
That's your
burial
choice of service.
What about a state funeral? Now we see those all the time on TV. Help me out with that, King. Tell me a little bit of what's a state funeral?
A state funeral is for dignitaries.
Okay.
It could be government or public dignitaries.
And that goes a long ways. Now we
Yes.
see that quite often. We've seen the presidents, Carolyn, on television.
Yes.
And they have what we call a state funeral. What do we normally have those?
We usually have those, John, at a lot of the memoriams.
Okay.
That they'll have available for them, and they have those usually in a public area because it is going to be some people that want to attend that service.
Because I've seen a state service in a state capitol, even in the U.S. Capitol. Rosa Parks, Queen, was actually taken to the U.S. Capitol, and she was laid out for viewing there. That's what we would call a state funeral.
Yes, it will.
And I'll tell y'all something that's really interesting. Every president of the United States must pre-plan his funeral. Isn't that something, Carol?
Now, if they put that out for the president, John, everybody should be listening to us about pre-plan.
It is a must. Because they're saying if you pass away as a president, we don't have time to plan for a funeral. So we need to know what you want done before you pass away.
Yes.
If it makes sense for the president,
Yes, sir.
It makes sense
sense
for
for
me.
it makes sense for everybody else.
Yes.
Right.
If the 3 reasons why you should pre-need is financial,
Emotional, and wishes.
if that works for the president,
Yes, sir.
you think it ought to work for everybody else
It
too?
should.
Y'all think the president might have some insurance?
Amen.
He's probably, you think his family gonna be okay if he passes away?
I think they'll be just fine.
Carol, do you think the president have a will?
Yes, he has a will because he has some instructions he needs to leave
Okay.
for his family.
So if it's good enough for president, my favorite president, Barack Obama,
Yes,
y'all
sir.
think it's good enough for everybody else?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And it's mandatory for him to
Pre-plan.
pre-need his
Pre-plan.
funeral. Y'all, it's many different types of funerals out there. Y'all agree with that?
Yes,
it is.
Let's talk about a few more. What's another type of funeral out there?
Well, the military.
Military. Let's talk a little bit about the military.
Yeah. Military service. My father being a veteran who passed away, we were able to, he was eligible
Okay.
to receive full honor guards. We got the 21 gun salute, the presentation and folding of the flag. We were blessed to be able to have a military graveside service for him as well as the traditional church service.
So because he was eligible as a veteran, we were able to do 21 gun salute.
Yes, sir.
Which is very nice. If I'm a veteran, I definitely want the 21
Yes,
gun
Yes,
salute,
sir.
Carol.
Yes.
And then you can have the flag folded and presented to your family
Yes,
if
Yes,
you're
sir.
eligible to have that.
Yes, sir.
And we've even handled services for the military pastor where the military stayed with the deceased the entire time.
Yes.
Person passed away and they flew in with the deceased person and they never left his side.
Right.
They were at the funeral home 24 hours a day until we buried him.
That's right. They stand guard.
They stood guard with
And
him.
that's really, it is a beautiful sight to see when you see our military show their love for each one of our departments. You know,
Right.
like the Air Force, we even used to back in the day have a flyover. You know, when and that used to be such a beautiful, touching service.
To see something like that.
something like
And
that.
Carolyn, it's well deserved.
Most
It is.
definitely, and that's the ultimate respect because our armed forces make sure that we are safe.
Right.
They have taken it off of themselves to make sure that America is safe, and they deserve everything that the military has. For
Free headstones, buried at the National Cemetery, Queen.
Yeah, all of that comes with being a veteran.
And they deserve that.
Yes.
And we pre-plan a lot of veterans, Mr. Beckwith.
And if that's the type of service they choose, we need to
respect.
Honor that.
we
Respect.
need
Yes,
to
sir.
honor and respect
Yes.
That's right.
if that's the type of service you want.
Yeah.
And I know it's interesting. I saw it. Some people actually protest a military
Yes.
funeral.
Yes.
And I
would you do
thought,
that?
why would you do that? Why would you disrespect anyone that fought for your rights or for your freedom? And then I thought about people who talked about other folks and the way they chose to celebrate their lives.
Right.
And you had no right to do that. Whatever type of service I choose is my choice. What's another type of service?
You get a flag, you get a 21 gun salute.
All that's available
All
for
that's
you.
available for
If
you.
I am a eligible
veteran.
Colonel, what if I'm a police officer or a fireman? We've seen many of those
Yes,
services.
we
Yes.
have, and you know, of course, here recently, where they had the tragedy in Houston, where the 4 firefighters passed away.
Right.
And they, just like the military, they deserve it because they're there to protect us. They're there to help us. So we need to give them the ultimate funeral and making sure that it's total respect for those people.
Now, Pastor, we've had the opportunity to handle services for police officers. We've also handled services for firefighters. And it's really amazing to see them come from all over the nation.
Yes, sir.
How they come and we support one another at a time like that. Why do you think that happens?
Well, to me, John, it's like a brotherhood.
Okay.
They're all standing for the same cause, the same reason. And when one of their comrades have fallen, especially in the line of duty, it brings them together as a unit, showing that their love and respect for what their comrade had stood for and what has how they shared the same interest in saving people's lives and helping protect our lives.
So if my family chooses to have a police funeral for me, you need to respect that type of service.
You need to respect it to the fullest.
Isn't that something? We've had services where we'll put the casket up on the back of the fire truck. We've seen the ladders cross together. I mean, it was just really touching to see that type of service that that family chose for their loved one.
And they showing respect and honor to that person.
Okay.
And you know, when you honor someone, you should go all the way with it.
All the way.
Don't just half step with it. Go all the way with it. You know, even I've noticed that they even have fire trucks in the processional.
Oh, those processions are amazing.
Just
Or
amazing.
you see how many police cars
walking
and,
behind and police
and
cars.
every station we passed by, they were out saluting.
Yes, and it could bring tears to your eyes. And sometimes, you know, we try to be so strong and say we can make it, but I notice every time I go, especially to a military service, when I hear taps, that make me think, oh, that's another brother.
Isn't that something?
That's going on home.
And Carolyn, we have to respect whatever type of service that you choose. Now, this is one of my favorite services, y'all, is the jazz funeral. I like that New Orleans style service. Y'all know anything about New Orleans?
Yes,
And that type of service, and we bring a lot of that tradition to Dallas. Carolyn, kind of help us a little bit with that New Orleans style service.
Well, John, it originated in Africa.
Okay.
And then when we were brought over from Africa.
Not by choice. Okay.
On the ships.
Okay.
When they got to New Orleans, then those that passed away, they did this type of celebration because then to them, the death was a freedom.
Okay.
And they wanted to express that, showing that their loved one had passed from labor to reward.
So the celebration came from Africa.
Yeah.
And that's how they celebrated, or we celebrated in Africa.
Right.
So when we're forced to come to America, they brought the celebration with them. Right. And you said when they passed away, it was from labor
To reward.
They found out it was better
to have gone on home than to be in slavery.
to be in slavery. And
Yes,
that's where that came from.
Right.
Now, when you say that, that touches me like a military funeral just touched me. That touched me like a fireman or a police officer.
Right.
And I have every right to.
Have that type of service.
Isn't that something? Tell me a little bit more, Queen, about that type of service.
It also came from France.
From France.
Uh-huh.
Because at that time, France owned New Orleans.
That's
and
right.
before we
The
did the
Louisiana
Louisiana
Purchase.
Purchase. There you go. All right. So France. So we have a little French mixed in there as well. But what's another thing we got mixed in there?
Well, the African American culture.
Okay, so you have Africans that was brought here. We then became African Americans, and we kind of got our own,
We put it all together.
our culture. So we have Africa, we have France, and
America.
all mixed together
All
and have
mixed
came up with a funeral.
And
Yes,
that's
sir.
a joyous celebration.
That's a celebration. Tell me what happened at those services, King.
Well, they usually have a big parade. And
There's a parade.
They have a parade, and a lot of times they have a horse-drawn carriage, and people are just marching and dancing and having a good time coming down the street.
And it's interesting. You say they're marching, they're
Yes.
dancing, and they're having a good time at a funeral.
Waving handkerchiefs.
Carolyn,
And
is that what kind of type of
there-
service to have a good time at a funeral?
And there are some people, John, that probably frown at that as well. But we're here to tell you it's all about a celebration.
Okay.
Celebration.
Especially when, as of course we're Christians, when we leave here, it's about a celebration.
We're going to a
better place.
better place.
Yes,
and that's
sir,
the type
we
of
believe
service I want.
Yes, sir.
And you can't tell me no different. Help me out. What else happened, Queen, on those type of celebrations?
And also on that, they have what they call a second line.
Okay,
where the-
second line. Now, we've heard this before because
Right.
I've been to Mardi Gras. Help me where second line
That's
came
where the
from.
whole neighborhood, the whole community, even if you don't know the person that's deceased, they
Okay.
join in on the celebration.
So you have a line
procession.
that's celebrating. When the other people come in and start celebrating with, it's called a second line. And that's where that came from, Carolyn.
Yes,
Isn't that something?
it is very interesting.
That's interesting. What happens in that second line? What's going on? And I've seen it. I'm pretty excited. Help the public with that.
Well, Brother John, they have the bands in the
Okay.
second line where they're playing the music, and the music is what sets the tone.
Okay.
It either is going to be an upbeat song where
And
you
when
can
it's
really
upbeat,
celebrate.
what we're doing?
You're celebrating, you're rocking, you're dancing, you're rejoicing, and then when it's time to mourn, the tempo of the music changes.
Okay. So I can go from sad to extremely happy just by the tempo of the
Just
Yes,
by
by
the
the
music.
music.
Just by the music.
Now, Pastor, they walk all the way from the church to the cemetery?
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
That's right.
Then
And
what
then-
happens at the end of the cemetery?
And when they get to the cemetery, after they commit the body,
Okay.
they go back to the actual place where this person was.
Isn't that
lived,
something? So,
and
Carol, now we got
continue
another-
to celebrate.
We got another celebration going back.
That's about that repast, John, that we talked about.
Okay.
And when we're going back to the repast, that's when they really celebrate, when they're really happy. They're upbeat, the tambourines, the music. And you may have even had a handkerchief on the way to the cemetery.
Wipe my tears.
Wipe your tears. But when you're going back, it's up in the air.
Yes,
We're
yes.
waving
We're
it.
waving it, and you're just
Yes.
letting them know now we're really celebrating our loved one's life.
So Queen, where do the umbrellas come from? Because we see the umbrellas quite often.
I think that was to protect them from the heat and the sun.
Okay, because
during the funeral
especially in
service.
New Orleans, it can
Right.
get pretty
Hot.
hot. I mean, you out there on that river, it can get pretty hot. What else you think that umbrella serve for?
Well, weather purposes.
Okay.
Well, because guess what? In those tropical areas, it rains a lot.
Okay. Okay.
And so it would just make good sense to protect yourself from stormy weather. So that's why the umbrellas are very important. They signify the protection while you're in this celebration. I won't say a parade, I just say a celebration of the life of the
So
one that
my
passed out.
handkerchief can be used to wipe my tears and celebrate.
Yes.
My umbrella can be used to protect me and
Celebrate.
Celebrate. Whatever type of service I want, it should be respected. And the best way to make sure I get the type of service I want is to do what, Queen?
Come to Golden Gate Funeral Home.
And we handle all types
Types.
of service. And can I pre-need any type of service?
Any type of service you want.
I can pre-need any of them. Carol, you need some insurance and
You need a will.
you need a will
They
because
need to
what?
know you want that type of
They
celebration.
need to see that in your handwriting.
sir.
All right. And remember, watch Ask the Undertaker every Saturday night right here on channel 47.2 at 7 o'clock p.m. and every Sunday morning at 5:30 a.m. on channel 21. And you all know my favorite,
The radio
show every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 o'clock a.m. on Heaven 97. That's 970 a.m. on your dial. And y'all wouldn't believe this. What's your favorite, Queen?
YouTube.
YouTube. Now on YouTube, Queen, I can go out and actually watch one of those New Orleans type funerals.
You can.
And I can go out to GoldenGateFuneralHome.com and watch us win, y'all.
Anytime.
Any day.
24 hours a day. May God bless you. May God keep you is our prayer.
We are stepping up the level of our services. Our goal is to treat your loved ones with the respect they deserve. We are taking our services to new heights. We are stepping in a new direction. Step into the new millennium with Golden Gate Funeral. The service begins